Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 189 of the Orange Pill Investor. And today I was going to talk about some bullshit, but Quant Bros 7 came out, so I don't want to talk about anything else. And I'm a, I'm a self-taught options trader, and so sometimes when I watch Jeff and Ryan talk about MNAVs and multiples and all this other shit, um, I kind of feel like Kari, the confused babysitter on Incredibles, who wishes her parents would have played Mozart for her when she was a baby because half the time she doesn't know what anybody's talking about. That's how I feel sometimes. But the comment that struck me was at 22 minutes 50 seconds, and it was everybody's front running everybody on everything. And Jeff was talking about how the market works, and I the reason why that struck me is because Bitcoin is so early, which kind of means MicroStrategy is early. Once once they can get get into the S&P 500, to me it's just off to the races. Now, not financial advice, of course, but and before I even get into that, I do, I send myself an email and I'm like, oh, here's an idea. And I even title the subject ideas. So before this Quant Bros episode came out, here's my ideas. How to deal with MicroStrategy volatility. Or, and actually, this one I kind of like. I feel sorry for the guy who made 30K off me. That one's actually going to be a fun one. I'm kind of looking forward to that one. Um, I had sold the 1400 strikes when MicroStrategy went to 1700, and whoever bought that covered call from me paid me like whatever, $1,500 or something, and ended up making 30 grand. But anyway, he learned the wrong lesson, so that'll be a whole other video. And then I got how to trade implied volatility. It's a mean reverting stat. Options prices after earnings. I actually did a video on that. But as soon as I see Quant Bros episode come out, like, that's it. That's all I want to talk about. And if you haven't watched Quant Bros 7, you should probably stop watching this and go watch that first, just in general, just on principle. But also, hell, go back and watch 1 through 6. I'll link it in the comments. But if everybody's trying to front run everybody on everything, it reminds me of that movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, I think. And you wanted to be the perfect trader. Let's just say you decided that MicroStrategy was the perfect ticker to trade, and you wanted to trade it perfectly. You'd go in here and you'd buy it right before the pump at 160. Then you'd sell it at 328. And then you'd buy it back because you're a fucking genius at 285. Then you'd sell it at 1,000. And then maybe you'd buy it back half price at 450. Every top you'd sell, every bottom you'd buy. But not only that, you wouldn't just buy the shares here. You'd buy as many long calls, as many of the cheapest long calls as you could possibly buy. You'd buy those. And then right here at the top, you'd sell every single one of them. And then the dip, you'd buy again. And that's kind of where I am with MicroStrategy. I'm so bullish on it over the next year that every single dip is a buy signal. And I'll come back to this later if I can remember. of how to buy all of these dips, because I'm like triple leveraged. I borrowed money to buy MicroStrategy. I'm buying it on margin, and I refuse to pay off my credit cards because that would just be more money that I wouldn't have to invest in MicroStrategy. So when you get these dips, when you get these buying opportunities, where do you get money from? Because my end goal is to not have a 9 to 5. Most people's solution to that is, okay, work your fingers to the bone at some job that you don't like, and then every paycheck you dollar cost average into Bitcoin or MicroStrategy or whatever the hell you're into, and then after 30 years or 50 years you get patted on the back and now you can retire and live off of dividend interest or whatever. But I want to just have some money and then make money off the money. I want to be able to do whatever the hell I want to do. I've got some ideas, maybe like a martial arts gym or a carnivore restaurant. I've got some things, some ideas, not necessarily because I think they'll be successful, but just because I want them in my life and I don't see anybody else making the things that I want. So maybe I'll have to just make them myself. But anyway, back to, if you had X amount of money invested in MicroStrategy to capitalize on these, it would be buy long calls, because that's leverage, cheap, sell them, buy long calls, sell them, buy long calls, sell them. And most people suck at the stock market. They don't know how to pick a good company. They don't know how to pick a good strategy. They're emotional. They buy here before it goes to here, but then they think it's going to go to 2,000, so they don't sell, and then they just ride it all the way back to 450. Maybe they panic sell, then they get excited again and they buy here. Most people just suck at trading in and out, hence why people just say, oh, just dollar cost average and wait 30 years. But this is one reason why I sell covered calls. It's not going to time it perfectly, but I will be forced, when this pumps, I will be forced to sell my shares here. Now, maybe I sold them here and it pumped to here, so I won't necessarily hit the tops perfectly. But what if I'm selling a covered call here and I'm buying long calls? And then I have to pay to roll, but then I sell the long calls to pay for the roll. And then I sell more covered calls against my shares, and I get this little dip. And instead of buying shares with the premium, I buy more long calls. And then when my strikes get threatened or breached, instead of selling shares, I'm selling my long calls. And then I'm selling more long calls because maybe I sold the 800 strikes and it went to 9. Well, it went to 1,000, right? If I can get this damn mouse to cooperate. I got to pay 20 grand here, but instead of selling 20 shares, maybe I can sell 5 long calls. And then I'm selling premium here. And of course, my value on my shares is collapsing in half. But down here, instead of buying shares at 450, I'm buying long calls. So I'm basically dollar cost averaging into long calls as the price goes down. And then when the price rips and I'm forced to sell off some assets to pay for the roll, I'm selling the tops, but I'm selling the leveraged tops. I have not been doing that for most of the time I've been into MicroStrategy, but I'm starting to develop this habit a bit now. In MicroStrategy, I have these long calls. So I've got 6 that are fairly short dated. These are 100, it's at 101 days to expiration. I should really get my glasses. I won't hold these much more than 90 DTE. I've got these that are 199 days to expiration. I can hold these for another 100 days. And I've got this 500 days to expiration. I can hold that for over a year. And this adds up to, the delta weighting here is, I got about 35 delta here, another 30, that's 65 delta, and another 35 delta. So I have about 110 delta here, which is the equivalent of 110 shares. And so why wouldn't I just buy 110 shares? Because one share is one delta. However, if the price does skyrocket on MicroStrategy from 1400 to 1800 or 2000, the delta on all of these long calls is actually going to increase. So this one single call has a 36 delta. But if the price on MicroStrategy rockets up to 2000, depending on the other Greeks, this delta will go up to 40 or 50. Same thing on a different scale for these shorter dated options. But 110 shares of MicroStrategy will only ever be 110 delta. So my thinking here, and again, not financial advice, but my thinking is to buy as much delta as possible, but also buy delta that can increase on its own. So it's great to get $1 for every, if you own a share of MicroStrategy, it's great to get $1 for every time MicroStrategy pumps $1, but it's even better to get $2. Now, leverage also hurts you in reverse. So MicroStrategy went, what the hell did it go? Was it like 1800 recently? Yeah. So if you're buying long calls here at 1800 and they drop to 1000 or 1400, these calls are actually getting absolutely wrecked. And you can even see, I had rolled some of these calls. I can't remember what I had. I might have had some Septembers or something. So I sold the Septembers and I bought the Novembers. And you can see that these have dropped in price by 60%, even though the price of MicroStrategy has only dropped, 20%. So this works against you in reverse. But if you're bullish on something, like I'm bullish on MicroStrategy, this is just temporary heartburn. So over time, I'm counting on, occasionally buying here and it drops to here, but for the most part, buying here and selling here. During this initial rip, I didn't own any leaps. So when the price went from, where's 1400? Yeah, like 1400 to 1700, I had to pay for that roll completely out of shares. Would have been nice to have some long calls here that I could sell. And just another thing, too. I wonder if this was plotted on a log scale, like people do with Bitcoin all the time. If this would be informative, because just pretending that I'm looking at these at scale, to me, this pump from 160 to 300, it doubled, and then retraced a little bit, and then what's this? Tripled after the double. If I blow this up, that looks a hell of a lot like this to here. And then we retrace. And then do we get this? So this looked like the moneymaker because it doubled in a very short period of time, October to December. In 2 months, the stock doubled. But then from December to February, it tripled on top of the double. If I zoomed in on this and blew it up, I'm thinking this little hitch right here looks a hell of a lot like this. And maybe we'll get some pullback. Who knows how far this will pull back to. But over the next year, I can't wait to see if we get this. I think a triple from here is probably base case. That would put us at $4,000. That's kind of bearish, honestly. But that's all I really wanted to talk about today. Every time I watch a Quant Bros episode, it gets me freaking hyped. And go watch it. I'll link it in the comments. And every time I look at this, especially when I zoom out, I just get so freaking excited. So narrowly avoided a margin call this week. And it was not without a little bit of anxiety. So grateful that was avoided. Didn't have to make too many money moves. But yeah, just excited about the future. So that's it for now. Be good, y'all.